What's up, everyone? This is Soul with another video, and today we're going to take a closer look at this dead game and get an early look at 8 new hero talent trees for the War Within. I really wish that they would just stop calling it hero talent trees because folks are making it out to be kind of different, but anyway. Like the video, and let's get right into it. To use the navigation below to get to where you want to go, starting with the intro. The War Within expansion introduces hero talents as a new update to World of Warcraft classes. They're an evergreen form of character progression for each class specialization that introduces new powers and class fantasies. Feedback is critical to us as a part of creating an impactful and fun addition to the game, so we're sharing our guides for hero talents with the community to get first impressions of them and learn how well we're meeting those goals. In this article, we're going to take a closer look at the philosophies around hero talents for 8 more trees. Elune's Chosen and Wildstalker Druids, they get 2. Scalecommander Evoker, so we're going to get another one for them. Herald of the Sun and Templar Paladins. Oh, so they're going to be done. We're going to have all of them for Paladins. Hell yeah. Trickster Rogue, Diabolist Warlock, and Colossus Warrior. We're going to have fun today. Okay, so I'm going to skip this part because I think we've seen a lot of these already. Yeah, I think we've gone through all that stuff. And we're going to get right to it. So we'll go in order. I'll probably do Paladin last, though, since it's my almost expertise. Or, that's as good as I can get. All right, so we're going to, so the way that we're going to do this real quick is it's going to be a little bit different this time. I'm going to go through the spec and I'm going to kind of skip around and focus on the passives first, because that kind of encapsulates what the spec is. And by the time you're max level, like, you're going to be picking this and you're going to have all these different passives that you'll have, and you're just going to have them as soon as you choose this specialization. And then I'm going to go and take a closer look at just kind of read off the choice nodes. It's kind of an effort to frame these hero talents as what they really are. It's just one big choice talent followed by a number of choice nodes that are a little bit below it. So it sounds confusing, but hopefully this will come off well. So anyway, Elune's Chosen, who is meant for Balance and Guardian. So Boundless Moonlight is the topper here. So if your Balance Full Moon calls down baby moons that deal additional damage and generate 3 astral power. I wonder if it's 3 astral power per moon or anything like that. If you're tanking Lunar Beam, if you have Lunar Beam, it causes you to leech life equal to 10% of all damage dealt to enemies who are within the beam. It's not bad. And then, regardless of spec, Fury of Elune now ends with a flash of energy blasting nearby enemies for astral damage. So just more stuff. Okay. Lunar Insight will make your so if you have this spec, if you have Elune's Chosen, this is what you get. Moonfire just does more damage. Bareform and Moonkin form reduce arcane damage by 6 and all other magic. So magic damage debuff, cool. I'm sorry, it's a magic damage defense, and you take a little bit less arcane damage on top of that. I don't think that's a huge deal, depending on the encounter or whatever that you're doing, but that helps. Lunar Amplification. Each non-arcane damaging ability that you use increases the damage of your next arcane damaging ability by 3%, stacking up to 3 times. So I do more Guardian than I have Balance. I'm very inexperienced with Boomkin, so that seems kind of easy as a Boomkin, or sorry, as a tank. So Atmospheric Exposure. Enemies damaged by Full Moon, Fury of Elune, or Lunar Beam take more damage from you for 6 seconds. So more damage, easy. And then we have, I think those are all the passives. No, actually, no, we have Moon Guardian. Moonfire and Starfire generate 2 additional astral power. Easy. And with Guardian, free automatic Moonfires from Galactic Guardian generate 5 rage. Oh, that could easily be like a ton of rage generation. Okay. Okay, and then finally at the very bottom, because all the others are choice nodes, the Eternal Moon further increases the power of Boundless Moonlight, where for chickens, New Moon and Half Moon now also call down 1 minor moon, so more moons. And then Guardian Lunar Beam increases mastery by an additional 8%, deals more damage, and it lasts a little bit longer. And Eternal Moon, it generates 6 astral power or rage, and its damage is increased. So lots of emphasis on whenever you use full moon or lunar beam. And if you don't like if you're a guardian with the current talent spec and you don't like lunar beam, then this talent tree is dead, right? That's pretty much kind of the thing. So very much an emphasis on either. I'm going for either, hey, do you want to be like super moon bear, right? Or do you want to go Druid of the Claw, which I believe is not being offered here. I think as of today we have Elune's Chosen known, Wildstalker, which we're going to probably get into in just a moment, and then Keeper of the Grove. So pretty strong, very, very strong emphasis on Moon Bear, which I do like. I do like the whole moon cannon sort of thing. I have a feeling that the other side of this is going to be very much like, crazy stuff with like thrash and those other spells with that create like the big bubble for you. And maybe there's going to be a lot of emphasis based on that, because it's going to be closely related to Feral as well. So I could definitely see that happening. Okay, moving on to choice nodes for Elune's Chosen. So we have 1, 2, 3. We have 4 choice nodes. So the idea is when you're going to be choosing your spec and going through the motions, you're going to choose one of the hero specs and then 4 choice nodes. Everything else you're just given. Just want to repeat that. So Moondust, enemies affected by Moonfire are slowed by 30%. Oh, that's pretty good, depending on the situation, right? Or using Wild Charge in Bear form or Moonkin form incurs a 3% shorter cooldown. So just shorter cooldown on Wild Charge, which is, is that the interrupt? I don't think that's the interrupt. But that's still cool. This one is kind of fascinating though, especially like if you're doing like PvP and stuff. Oh man, that'll be even more annoying to like to kite people around. All right. Stellar Command. For balance, it increases the damage of Full Moon by 15%, or the damage of Lunar Beam by 30%. But Fury of Elune just gets stronger anyway. So just depends on what your emphasis is, really. Or you pick up Lunar Calling. Starfire deals 40% damage to its primary target, but no longer triggers Solar Eclipse. This I have no idea what that means as a non-balanced person. Thrash now deals arcane damage as its damage is increased by 12. Oh, that seems like a given. That's like this feels like a kind of an easy choice. I guess it's more like, do you want to go passive or do you want to have like a strong, like a bursty cooldown of sorts if you want more Lunar Beam damage? And that might compound with like some other stuff too. All right, Light of Elune. Moonfire damage has a chance to call down a Fury of Elune to follow your target for 3 seconds. That's kind of nice. And it gives you more resource. And then Astral Insight. Chosen of Elune and Guardian of Ursak increase arcane damage from spells and abilities by 10%. Convoke duration and number of spells cast increase by 25%. I'm a fan of Convoke because I like lazy buttons. Unless I get stunned, and then that really sucks, but you know what I mean. But kind of a fan of that one. And then we have this last choice node. All arcane damage from your spells and abilities is increased by 3%. Nice and easy. Or Lunation. Your arcane abilities reduce the cooldown of your balanced version of Fury of Elune by 2 seconds, and the cooldown of the other moon things by 1 second. Or as Guardian, your arcane abilities reduce the cooldown of Lunar Beam by 3. Oh, that seems hella strong. So like depending on the fight, the encounter or whatever, if this can alter your cooldowns in such a way to make them more available when you want them to be, or to just use them more often, like, oh, let's go from one pull to the next, This one can be like really, really strong. Or you could just go passive and just pick up the passive thing right here. Wildstalker. All right. So we start off with Thriving Growth, based on rip and rake damage. It has a chance to cause vines to grow on the victim, dealing bleeds over 6 seconds. And then Wildstalker is also, it's a resto spec as well. Also, Wild Growth, Rejuve, and Efflorescence has a chance to cause blooms to grow on the target, healing over 6 seconds. Multiple instances of these can overlap. So in this case, for both the Elune's Chosen and Wildstalker, actually no, I'm sorry, with emphasis on this one, no changes. At least it doesn't seem like you need to like pick up a certain talent in order to pick this up. You know, you just have it. So it's kind of a passive thing that you get that makes your abilities better. All right, let's move on. Hunt Beneath the Open Skies. Damage and healing while in cat form increased by 5%. Also, your Moonfire and Sunfire damage is increased by 10%. So for DPS resto, a little bit of a boost. Not like a huge deal. Otherwise, while you're in cat form, more damage. Boom. Strategic Confusion, Tiger's Fury, and attacking from Prowl increases the chance for your come out and jack 'em up abilities to have more crit. Cool. And then casting Regrowth increases the chance for your periodic heals to critically heal by 10% for 6 seconds. Oh, that's strong, dude. So 10% more crit for 6 seconds. All you got to do is cast a Regrowth, which might be free. You know, you might get a free proc and then boom, all of a sudden, like those numbers just start popping. That's kind of neat. Glistening Fur. Rip damage increased by... rip damage is increased. Ferocious Bite, stronger. Rejuve is stronger. Stronger everything. So just more stats. Easy. Also, Wild Growth and Rake they last 20% longer. That's kind of a cool thing because I love Wild Growth. It's a very neat thing. Okay, so Bursting Growth. When Bloodseeker Thorns expire, they explode in thorns, dealing physical damage to the nearby enemies. Well, that's kind of cool. Damage reduced above 5 targets. When Symbiotic Blooms expire, flowers grow around their target, healing them and up to nearby allies. I noticed that there's going to be a lot of instances where you have like these little procs that just give more of everything. So you're just going to see a lot of numbers like popping up, but you're not exactly seeing a lot of like transformative choices or passives that make your class play a little bit differently. But you see a little bit more with the choice nodes, of course. Finally, Eternal Moon. Bloodseeker Vines increase the damage your abilities deal to affected enemies by 10%. And Symbiotic Blooms increase the healing your spells do to affected targets by 8%. So let me focus on this one for a second. So Bloodseeker Vines, it increases the damage that you do by 10%. And just a reminder, Bloodseeker Vines, you just use Rip and Rake, and it just causes like this additional damage over time. So it's just more damage, which is cool, right? Let's cycle back to the choice nodes now. Entangling Vortex. Enemies pulled into Ursol's Vortex, if you pick that up, are rooted in place for 6 seconds. Oh, that's dope. Oh, that's good. Well, okay, so damage may cancel the effect. I mean, that's cool, but they're not really going to be rooted for very long, right? But I guess if they're rooted for even like another second, that counts as like a not even the mini stun, because I think when they get pulled back in, like don't they get stunned for like a very short time? I'm not sure, but that one seems okay. It'd be cool if they were snared in plays, or if they were snared for like 70% for like 2 or 3 seconds, so that way they have a slower time coming out. Oh, that would be a huge DPS increase. Anyway, Flower Walk. During Bark Skin, your movement speed is increased by 10%, and every second, flowers grow beneath your feet that heal up to 3 nearby injured allies. Hey, don't take away my pally stuff, dude. I mean, we're gonna get to that a little bit later, but this is basically the pally thing, Path of Light or whatever it's called. But I would definitely pick up Flower Walk. That one is a nice passive heal my party sort of thing. Next choice node, bottom with nature healing you received is increased by 10%, or your regrowth healing to yourself is increased by 50%. Okay, so I guess it's the difference between passive self heals versus active self heals. Kind of a PvP choice, maybe. Resilient flourishing. Bloodseeker vines and symbiotic blooms last an additional 2 seconds. That's cool. When a target affected by Bloodseeker vines dies, the vines jump to a nearby unaffected target for their remaining duration. Oh, that's kind of cool. I mean, it only lasts for what, 6 seconds, I think it said? Yeah, so it's only 6 seconds, so it's not like a huge thing, but maybe that's why they increase the duration of it, so that way you get like a little bit out of it. And Bloodseeker does do things. Especially if it jumps to other targets and stuff. So each active Bloodseeker vine increases the damage of your abilities deal by 2%. Each active symbiotic bloom increases the healing of your life groom and wild growth. So here's what I'm talking about when you have like kind of sort of a transformative ability with these hero talent trees, because this will encourage you to switch targets. So that way you can apply more vines to other targets. Now, as for how that really translates between Feral and Resto, I'm not very familiar with either. Hard to say. Like, is it a great idea to switch from one to another? Knowing that Feral does put a pretty big emphasis on like, big AoEs and dots and stuff like that. I don't know. But maybe it's not a big deal either. Then finally, we have Twin Sprouts as one of the choices. When Bloodseeker vines or symbiotic blooms grow, they have a 10% chance to cause another growth of the same type to immediately grow on a valid nearby target. So that immediately like has me go back to this thing here. Whenever so this way you have more vines going out. Feral Frenzy, if you have that, which I think most Feral Druids do, it immediately causes the Bloodseeker vine to grow on the target. Casting a regrowth that is made instant, cast a symbiotic bloom to grow on the target too. Oh, that. I feel like Twin Sprouts is the easier one, especially if you're doing like maybe dungeons and stuff, and then it'll just be easier to have the extra damage going out. I would say that this one is probably not as reliable. I'm not quite sure how effective Implant is going to be here. This is going to go great. All right, so Scalecommander Evoker with an emphasis on augmentation and devastation. We start off with the keystone, as they call it. Mass Eruption or Disintegrate. Empower spells cause your next eruption to strike 3 targets. When striking fewer than 3 targets, less or fewer, whatever, eruption damage is increased by 25% for each missing target. So it just makes your eruption better. As devastation, your empower spells cause your next disintegrate to strike up to 3 targets. Oh, that's dope. It's like having 3 heads. When striking fewer than 3 targets, and it does more damage. Okay, cool. So that's cool. So emphasis on abilities that you already have, that are already part of your rotation. Got it. All right, starting off with the okay, so there's 1, 2, so only 3 passives here. I'm sorry, 3 choice nodes. That's interesting. We've seen 4. So in this case, we have 3. So as a Scalecommander, your black spells will deal 10% increased damage. Your Mass Disintegrate and Mass Eruption will mark the primary target for destruction for the next 10 seconds. You and your allies have a chance to trigger a bombardment when attacking marked targets dealing with. Oh, that's dope. So it's a group debuff kind of thing. So you and your allies have a chance to trigger a bombardment. Neat. So it's like everyone gets to contribute like a little AoE. And I'm sure credit is going to go towards the Evoker, probably. Entering combat, Lee grants a charge of burnout, causing your next living flame to cast instantly. Oh, that's a nice quality of life thing to get them a little bit more of the, the juice, their resource. I'm sorry. Melt Armor. Deep Breath and Breath of Eons cause enemies to take 20% increased damage from bombardments and essence abilities for 12 seconds. Oh, that's big. Oh, that's really big. that puts a lot of emphasis on those cooldowns, which you're already going to use. Wing Leader bombardments reduce the cooldown of Deep Breath and Breath of Eons by 1 second for each target struck, up to 3 seconds. So it's a small. Okay, so it's a small little thing. For each second you're in combat, Azure Strike and Living Flame deal 1% increased damage up to 50%. Oh, hey, that's kind of cool. For like longer, for any encounter that lasts like a little bit long, but it would make it feel, kind of makes the initial spells feel bad when you're at low stacks and you're just like doing Mythic Plus or something like that. And it's like, oh man, I'm doing like pissy damage, but then you're using other things too. You're not just using Azure Strike and Living Flame. So. And then at the very bottom here, Deep Breath and Breath of Eons can now be steered in your desired direction. Ooh. In addition, Deep Breath and Breath of Eons burn targets for volcanic damage over 12 seconds. Now, this is, this changes things. Like, don't screw up, But no, this is really cool. That's a very cool thing. Very much a needed change for a lot of evokers who are like, oh, I was just a little bit off, son of a bitch. But now it's going to introduce the whole idea of, okay, cool, I aimed, but then I veered off course, so that's gonna suck. All right, let's go to the choice nodes now. Again, this is for Devastation and Augmentation. Hardened Scales. Obsidian Scales reduce damage taken by an additional 5%. That's very nice. Or knocking an enemy up or backward reduces their damage done to you by 15% for 8 seconds. So it's very much a, hey, are you soloing or not kind of choice node. Not very exciting one, I gotta say. Extended Battle. Essence abilities extend bombardments by 1 second. Okay, that's kind of cool. And bombardments have a chance to generate Essence Burst. I feel like, okay, both of these are kind of cool. Especially if like you're in a kind of a big group and then everyone's like just smashing like your main targets and then you're getting like tons of Essence Burst. I have a feeling that this is going to be a little bit limited. But it kind of sounds as if while a bombardment is going, for those 10 seconds, it's almost going to feel like you're going to have a ton of essence, and then you can just like go nuts, and then spend resource on whatever it is that you want. So that could be cool. I have a feeling it's not going to go. It's not going to be that freewheeling. And then finally, Nimble Flyer. While hovering, damage taken from area of effect taxes from AoE is reduced by 10%. Not bad. Or Deep Breath and Breath of Eons reset the cooldown of a hover. I gotta say, between these choice nodes, they're not like huge. I'd say like this middle one is like the very interesting one out of the three. These other ones feel like they're like, this one's very situational. Are you soloing or not? And then this one, a bit of a quality of life kind of movement choice, but nothing that feels like super strong. This bombardment thing seems kind of cool though. Yeah, it seems kind of neat. Trickster Rogue. We're going to look at specs for Outlaw and Subtlety. This is not going to be great because all I'm even remotely familiar with is Assassination. So let's see how this goes. Unseen Blade. Feint. I know Feint. Feint now grants 2 combo points. Oh, and quickly slashes with an unseen blade, dealing damage to nearby enemies. Targets struck are phased for 5 seconds. Phased enemies take 5% more damage from you and cannot parry your attacks. Okay, this is different. So, straight up, correct me if I'm wrong, chat, because my chat's here too. Am I really seeing that a defensive ability is gonna be like a main thing, a main rotational thing, as opposed to something that you rely on to survive? That's kind of odd to me. I mean, we'll see what else happens with the other talents here, but that seems kind of weird as a first impression. All right, Surprising Strikes. Attacks that generate combo points deal 25% increased critical strike damage to phased targets. Oh wow. And then Flawless Form. Unseen Blade and Killing Spree grant 3% mastery for 5 seconds. Multiple applications may overlap. So just kind of do both. Maybe you get 6% for a little while, and that's it. Or as Subtlety, Unseen Blade and Secret Technique grant... Okay, same thing. Okay. And then Devious Distractions. For Outlaw, Killing Spree causes targets to be phased for 5 seconds. Okay. And then Subtlety, a Secret Technique causes targets to be phased. I mean, the other cool thing about phase is that they can't parry your attacks. So you could be anywhere. And that's kind of a cool thing too. You don't have to worry as much about your positioning there. Nimble Flurry. Killing Spree deals 10% more damage and has a 10% reduced cooldown, or Secret Technique has a more cooldown on a major ability. Elaborate Twirl increases the duration of Flawless Form, which is this, by 2 seconds, which means you might be able to get more than 6% mastery. Okay. And then at the bottom, Coup de Grace. Or I'm sorry, Coup de Grace. After 4 strikes with Unseen Blade, your next dispatch will be performed as a Coup de Grace, dealing 40% increased damage. If the primary target is phased, you gain 5 stacks of Flawless Form. Hella mastery. Okay. And as Subtlety, pretty much the same thing. Okay. Coup de Grace. Sorry, thank you, chat, for correcting me. All right, let's look at the choice notes. Smoke. You take 5% reduced damage from phased targets. Or Mirrors. Faint reduces the area damage taken by an additional 10%. Okay, so it's either or. It's like, hey, am I taking constant Farok ticking damage? Okay, maybe Smoke is better. Or, is it something else? A big AoE thing. Mirrors might be better. Next choice note. Tricks of the Trades. Threat direct duration is increased to 1 hour. Wait, what? Wait, really? So instead of like a couple, so it's just boom. I'm gonna redirect to like the healer because I'm a troll, and I'm just gonna leave it on him. So it just lasts forever. I mean, that's not bad, but okay, what's the other choice? Blind and Shadow Concealment have a 10% reduced cooldown, Pickpocket and Sap range increased by 10 yards. So I guess, if you're raiding with other people, or if you're doing keys, I guess, you do something like that, then you're constantly like, okay with just going all out with your burst and stuff and not really caring. I guess that's okay. 1,000 Cuts. Slice and Dice grants 10% additional attack speed, and it gives your auto attacks a chance to trigger Unseen Blade. Ooh, wait, that's the thing, right? Okay, that is good, right? And then Flicker Strike, taking area damage while feint is active or dodging while evasion is active triggers Unseen Blade. This effect may only occur once every 5 seconds. Okay, so you're meant to have this thing like a lot. Yeah. So this thing is just meant to like boom, 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 boom. And then finally this choice note. Cloud Cover. Distract now creates a cloud of smoke for 10 seconds, and its cooldown is increased to 90 seconds. Attacks from within the cloud effect afflict targets with phase for 5 seconds. Okay. Or finishing moves have a 10% increased chance to critically strike non-phased targets. I feel like that is the better one to go for. All right. The Diabolist Warlock. Diabolist. How are people going to pronounce it? Probably as poorly as me, I bet. Anyway, so Diabolist Warlock for Demo and Destro. We kick it off with Diabolic Ritual. Spending a soul shard grants a ritual for 20 seconds. While the ritual is active, each soul shard spent reduces its duration by 1 second. Okay. When it expires, you gain Demonic Art, causing your next ability that costs soul shards to summon an Overlord, a Mother of Chaos, or a Pit Lord that unleashes a devastating attack against your enemies. Okay, so you do your normal thing, and I want to say like every like 10 seconds or less, you're gonna summon one of these things that you're just gonna spawn hella dudes. That's what it looks like. That's the vibe I'm getting here. And the first impression, that's dope. I love that. All right, so let's look at the passives. Cloven Souls. Enemies damaged by your Overlord have their souls cloven. Cloven. Increases the damage taken by you and your pets by 10%. Diabolic Ritual increases the damage of your next ability that costs soul shards by 30% and reduces its cast time by 50%. Oh, that feels like it's going to be kind of disorienting. Or Mothered Chaos. It empowers your next Shadow Bolt or Incinerate to become Demon Fire Barrage instead, which is a channel. Okay, this feels chaotic already because you're going to passively start this ritual. We don't exactly know if these are going to come out in order or if there's like a fixed rotation of what comes out. So I think I feel like people who are trying to play at a very high level are going to get kind of thrown off because sometimes the cast time of a certain ability is going to be have a reduced cast time, whether it's like a chaos bolt or a hand of Gul'dan or something. And then when Mother of Chaos procs, then your next shadow bolt doesn't become a cast, it becomes a channel, and that kind of like throws things off too, because it's like, okay, I got a proc, I need to, I'm using this ability, I need to stop cast because I need to get out of fire or something like that, but then you lose it because you already expended the proc of this. So it feels like it's going to be chaotic to say the least. 3 choice nodes, and then let's look at the other passives. Fire damage increased by 2%, and damage dealt by your demon is increased by 2%. Okay, that's nice and safe. Very easy to understand. Okay. Abyssal Dominion. Grimoire, Felguard, and Cataclysm, if you have those, gain additional effects. So as Demo, Felguard lasts 3 seconds longer, and its cooldown is reduced by 30 seconds. That's pretty strong. And then as Destro, casting Cataclysm summons an Overfiend that casts Chaos Bolts 2 times at 80% effectiveness before departing. Oh, that's pretty strong. I mean, I think Destro logs use Cataclysm as part of their single target too, so that's just like more stuff. That's pretty neat. And then Gloom of Nathriza. For Demo, Hand of Gul'dan deals 15% increased damage for each soul shard spent, which is like, it's kind of a given. Don't you always want to use 3 soul shards? And then enemies marked by your Havoc take 5% increased damage from your single target spells. Stronger cleave. Can't really complain. And then finally, Ruination. Summoning a Pit Lord causes your next Hand of Gul'dan or Chaos Bolt to become Ruination, where you call down a demon-infested meteor from the depths of the Twisting Nether, dealing chaos damage on impact to all enemies within 8 yards of the target and summoning 3 wild imps. That's cool. So whether you're Demo or Destro, you summon like this big old freaking evil full moon, and you get imps even as Destro, who will like go pew pew for a little bit. So that means part of this rotation, because you might get a Pit Lord, Overlord, or Mother Chaos. That's wild. Yeah, I wanna play this. But anyway, let's look at the choice notes. Soul Etch Circles. You always gain the benefit of Soul Burn when casting Demonic Circle Teleport, increasing your movement speed by 50%. Okay, so like a get out of thing free card. Halitair cooldown is reduced by 15 seconds, and its range is increased by 5 yards. Okay, so just kind of like a crowd control emergency button sort of thing. Next choice note. Nether Portal, summon Demonic Tyrant, and summon Infernal grants a Diabolic Ritual and reduce its duration by 3 seconds. and or reduce the duration. So make things come out faster. It'll kind of make you want to keep an eye out on your Diabolic Ritual debuff, buff, whatever, because you don't want to use this at a bad time either. Or you can pick up an Infernal Machine. Your Soul Shard spending abilities decrease the duration of Diabolic Ritual by 1 additional second while your Demonic Tyrant, Nether Portal, or Infernal is active. This one feels easier to use. A little bit easier to use. Because you're just like, because this just makes things feel faster. This, I feel like you have like a little bit more control. Maybe you can get more out of it, but I'd rather not think. So Infernal Machine is where I'd probably go. And then finally, what looks like defensive stuff, Unending Resolve heals you for 30% of your maximum health over 10 seconds. That kind of helps. For a class who's already like super tanky anyway. Unending Resolve grants Soul Leech equal to 10% of your maximum health and increases the maximum Soul Leech can absorb by 10% and 8 seconds. So choose your, oh no, choose your danger and then alter your defensives between these two things as you like. I'll probably go for the passive on this one. So the passives aren't like super exciting, but just how this thing plays seems like it's going to be freaking nuts. Seems pretty crazy. And then finally, Colossus Warrior, but there's also a dev note. The Warrior tree will be updated in War Within to make the Shockwave talent more easily accessible via class talents. We wanted to call this out as the Colossus tree interacts with Shockwave in a few places. Well, that's nice. So this is an arms and protection warrior. So the big thing is Demolish. It is an active ability. Warriors are going to get another button. 45-second cooldown where you unleash a series of precise and powerful strikes against your target and enemies within 8 yards of it. You can block, parry, and dodge while using this ability. So it feels like it's kind of like Rampage, right? It's like Rampage, but it's for arms and protection. All right, so starting with the passives, Martial Expert. Your critical strike damage is increased by 10%, and the amount blocked by your critical blocks is increased by 10%, as if it's not enough already. Wow, that's pretty strong. Mortal Strike and Shield Slam grant a stack of Colossal Might. Colossal Might increases damage dealt by Demolish by 10% and stacks up to 5 times. Demolish consumes what this thing consumes Colossal Might. So do a bunch of Mortal Strikes and Shield Slams. You get okay. So Colossal Might is just like a buildup, right? It's a buildup that makes your Demolish do a lot more damage. Okay. Tide of Battle. Colossal Might increases the damage of Overpower and Revenge by 2%. Cool. I'm going to guess that it also stacks up to 5 times. Practice Strikes. Mortal Strike and Shield Slam damage is increased by 15% when you're part of the spec. Also, Mortal Strike and Shield Slam critical strikes grant an additional stack of Colossal Might. So you can, I guess it's a way to more easily get to the 50% mark. So that way, by the time this 45-second cooldown is available, then you should pretty much always have a full strength Colossal Might going out. That's how it feels to me. And then finally, Mountain of Muscle and Stars. You deal 5% more damage and take 2.5% less damage. So it's increased by 5%. That's cool. It should be 10%. It's got to be more noticeable. And then at the very bottom, Unstoppable Force. Colossal Might now stacks up to 10 times. Okay, so that makes True Might that much more important. If you would gain a stack of Colossal Might and are at max stacks, the cooldown of Demolish is then reduced by 2 seconds. So they don't want you to wait either. They don't want you to sit. While channeling Demolish, you are grounded, making you immune to stuns and effects that move you. Oh, that's dope, dude. Okay, so what we don't know. Okay, what we're learning here is that it's definitely a channel that you can. I wonder if you can move. Can you move while channeling this? Because if you can't move while channeling this spec is dead. Right? I will not want, I don't want to not be able to move while channeling this thing. Anyway, let's look at the choice nodes though. We might see something different. Okay, so Bone Shaker. Shockwave stun duration is increased by 2 seconds, or Shockwave knocks enemies into the air, and its cooldown is reduced by 5 seconds. Again, really depends on the situation that I want. Next one, One Against Many. Shockwave, Cleave, Whirlwind, and Revenge deal 5% more damage per target affected up to 5, which is kind of a lot for arms, especially. And Arterial Bleed. Colossal Might increases the percentage of rend and deep wounds by 2% per stack, which is up to 20% according to this thing right here, the bottom talent thing. Not bad. No Stranger to Pain. Total damage prevented by Ignore Pain increased by 15%, which is crazy. And also Rally. Taking damage has a low chance to give you a second wind for 2 seconds. Oh, I would definitely pick up the bubble here. So the concern that I have is just like the way Demolish works at all. If I can move while this channel's going, great. At first I thought it felt kind of like Rampage, where you're doing a couple swings, but for the most part, it just that thing just happens instantly. But if this is in fact a channel and you can't move, I can't see this as very attractive, because whether you're tanking or deeps in, you're melee. The last thing you want to do is lose control over your agency of movement. You know what I mean? So the cool thing about this Unstoppable Force thing is that I think of fights where there might be a big knockback or something like that. And as a tank, you want to do your best to keep control of the situation, control the battlefield, and if you can prevent stuns or knockback effects and stuff like that, even better. It really doubles down on the warrior's ability to be like, nope, I ain't going nowhere, buddy. Because we've seen other instances where warriors can flex their class abilities. Like, dude, I could just intercept back in, or charge back in, or heroic leap back in. Now it's just like, no, you can't even push me back, bro. So it'd be cool if if other classes or specs had something like this. I feel like warriors have a lot of tools for this. It's cool that they're giving even more, but at the same time, it'd be cool if other tanks had more of this ability to prevent movement and stuff. They have it, but it'd be cool to get like a little bit more of that too. I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to create another video entirely separate just for paladins, because I want to go over not just like the new specs, but also kind of get an idea of what the interactions are going to be like for me when, like, I'm basically going to simulate. I'm going to try to simulate myself as like a max level player, and then I'll be like, choosing protection as an example, and then we'll take a look at how I would look at these specs as a max level player, and really decide, okay, as is in this early preview, what spec would I choose? What sort of loadout would I have? And what would be the situations that would make me change? I want to kind of get into that feel. So stay tuned for that one, or I might have that uploaded first. I don't know. But anyway, like the video, subscribe for more stuff. Thanks for coming. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.